Hey, Dave,
Hi, how you doing?
good. We were just brainstorming about
Uh-oh.
tech talks, and we may have to rope you into one if it
Oh,
gets any traction.
okay.
We're thinking about doing one in February about the idea of gamification.
Ah,
And love to get your take on that at that time. And then depending on how interested people are in the topic, then we might do it. So I think the first one would just be like an introduction to the concept for people
right,
that maybe they've heard the buzzword, but they don't even really know what that looks like.
right,
And then if there's interest, then we might do a second part where it's more, here's some specific things that you could try in your class, some actionable stuff.
right. Yeah, that'd be fun. I could help where I can.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, just having you there to kind of share your thoughts and your experiences would be fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not an expert by any means, but
Neither are we.
In my experience, anybody who claims to be an expert on gamification right now doesn't really know what they're talking about.
yeah, that's very true.
So I'm skeptical of anybody that says, yes, I'm a gamification expert.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a prompt for a consulting gig that they're
Yeah,
trying
there you go.
to get a nice side project on.
Exactly.
Well, let's go ahead and jump in, and so we can get this rolling. Today's tech talk is on Panopto quizzes and building in formative assessment within your lectures in your class. It's a nice feature. It's a needed feature. One of the biggest complaints as an instructional designer that I hear from faculty is, I don't think my students are reading the material, or my students aren't watching the lectures. And that's pretty consistent amongst any discipline. Because what faculty do know, and this is also pretty evident, is that the students that engage in the lesson materials and the instructor content and the lectures and the readings, those are the students that are successful. We all know this and we all preach it. However, students that come to the community college, not all of them are aware of the behaviors of successful college students. And so reinforcing those successful behaviors is important for them to learn how to engage and how to be successful in class, because it's not obvious. A smart high school student can get by just by showing up. But when you take an online class for the first time, showing up isn't really well defined. And so engaging in the lecture materials can increase their success. And one way of doing that is to assess whether or not they're watching it. And so engaging in the analytics and also building in little quizzes to encourage students to watch your videos, but also to redirect them if they're not understanding key concepts along the way. And so that's the point of today's Tech Talk, is one, introduce that concept, and two, show you how to build that into a video in your course and then connect it to the Canvas Gradebook. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in and just begin the show part, and we'll show you how to put this into practice. And if we have time, we'll jump into analytics and answer any questions that there are there. However, if you want to build a quiz, the first step before you would connect it to the gradebook, of course, is to build the quiz questions into your videos. And so you'll want to jump into your Panopto recording folder that has the video that you want to put the quizzes in. I'm going to let that load for a second, and then I'll just use this random video here that I created to show you that process. What you're going to do is you're going to go into edit. And if you haven't messed around in the edit function much, it allows you to do a few things. It allows you to trim the beginnings and ends of your videos, so any dead time there. It allows you to add captions. There's some technical stuff about streaming, but I wouldn't get into that unless you really have real technical questions. But one of the options there is quizzes. And how this works is, this is the timeline of your video. And so this video is a 25-minute video. There's our dear friend in e-learning, Jerry Troop. And this is showing us certain timestamps of that video. And so I can click here at the 5-minute mark and I can play. And what we want to do for this first step is identify where that first quiz question is going to be popping up. And so that's what I'm kind of looking for. And so if you go ahead and find where you want that, you're going to leave this marker at that point. And it'll show you here, 4 minutes, 49 seconds. And then if you go into quizzes on this left-hand side, you can click add a quiz, and that's the point in the video where your quiz is going to be added. So let's go ahead and add one there. It brings up this dialog that gives you a few different options for building your quizzes. Now, before we get too much into it, don't overthink this. Think of this as a quick check-in, not a large assessment, right? This is a quick, maybe get a pulse of how a student is doing. And so there's not a lot of options here. It's pretty bare bones when it comes to quiz options or quiz types. You've got 4. Fill in the blank is always troublesome, especially if it's auto-graded. And so stick with something simple. So you pick your quiz type, and here you can name it. So maybe we want to do 2 quiz questions or 2 quiz series throughout this video. We can go ahead and name it, and then we can go ahead and write the actual question here. True or false, Jerry Troop is a Canvas wizard. I'm going to mark the correct answer as true because I know that's true. However, the student won't know that right away, but I can put an answer here so that it allows them to learn from this attempt. And so I can say, Jerry studied wizardry under blah, blah, blah. This can give them an opportunity to get a little feedback to correct their understanding if they're unaware about the wizardry of Jerry Troop. Now, this is one question. I can add more questions. I can add more questions right here at this timestamp. However, if I only wanted one question at this time, I'm going to click done. And then I got a few options here. I can allow students to retake. I can show their grade, allow review or see the correct answers and the explanations that I built in. And then instructors are often want to find this one, block advancing in the video until answering the quiz. So this will actually not allow them to completely view this quiz or completely get through the video without actually attempting the quiz. So if I'm good with this one question, I can click finish. And then later, I can go ahead and click up here and I go, I know students often miss this section or they don't get all the way through the video. So I can click at that specific time and I can repeat those processes. I click add a quiz. I pick my quiz type. I give it a title. I put in the question and then the potential answers. Once we're finished with that, and I'm not going to walk you through that just for time, but once we're finished with that, you can go ahead and click apply. And now you have a video. Yep, and we're going to let it do its thing. Now you have a video that has quizzes at these different timestamps. Give me a thumbs up if you can see. Some questions that I'll get. Okay, folks will say, okay, I want the quiz to be 1 point per question. That's good. What Canvas is going to do is no matter how many points you put this in as the gradebook, say you put it as 3 points, it's only going to divide, Panopto is only going to divide the amount of points per question. So if there's one question, that one question is going to be 3 points. If there's 30 questions, they're going to end up being, oh gosh, I'm horrible at math, 0.1 point, I guess. So the math is pretty simple and you can't really change that. So for the type A's who really want to manipulate that, you can't give certain points to certain questions here. It's just shared equally. So that step is pretty simple, right? I mean, you find your videos and you click edit and you add in the quiz questions wherever you want to add them. And I'm going to refresh this screen because once you do that, it applies and it has to reprocess that video. And that might take, a few more minutes. It's looking like, it's actually looking like this one's ready. But what I do want to show you is the next step is to actually put this in your gradebook and make it so it's a published assignment in your class. So let's go to modules. We're going to create an assignment in this module. Call it Panopto practice. That's for today. What you may want to call this is, lecture module, lecture A module 2, or give it a naming structure so that students know it is a lecture and it is an assignment. So we've created the shell of this. Now we got to go in and edit it. And here is where you're going to put any context. This lecture has points associated with it. Make sure you watch it completely. Complete the quiz questions by answering them on the screen, etc., etc., etc. Assign your point structure. And then under submission type, this is the one to pay attention to. You're going to select external tool because it's an external tool. It's connecting to Panopto. It's not within Canvas anymore. And so you'll do that. Now, if I have the link to the video, I can paste it here. However, if I don't, I can go and click Find. And this pulls up all the external tools. You're going to need to scroll down. There's all our publisher stuff and H5P. And then you'll scroll down to Panopto recordings. Panopto recordings then pulls up all of your videos in this course. Now I can navigate to other courses. Click this drop down. If I know I keep all my courses in a master because I went to the Tech Talks last week and Rick told me to use masters, then I can go ahead and find my master and pull from there. However, for this example, it's in this folder. And I'm going to grab another video that I made that has some quiz questions. I just go ahead and select it and click Insert. And now we have this assignment built. You'll see the video pop in here. It's linked here. And we can go ahead and see if I want to allow it unlimited submissions or make sure it's the correct assignment group, all those normal settings, and then click Save and Publish. So it looks like a normal Panopto video embedded in a page. However, you're seeing some of these assignment settings. If we click on Student View, this is what it's going to look like. And we'll go ahead and jump in as a student. I got Sketch in my class. And so we'll masquerade as Sketch and see what this looks like. We see in grades, let's see if it's on here. There's our Panopto practice. It's worth 5 points. I haven't done it yet. And so if Sketch jumps in, here's what the experience looks like for a student. So Sketch can try to cheat the system and skip ahead, right? Except for I'd selected that option that didn't allow Sketch to continue. And so I tried to skip to 25 seconds, but it stops it. And it prompts the question. And I'd practice, so I'll click retake. So here's what it's going to look like. Where do you download student submissions? I answered it correctly. The student gets the correct response. And these were the selections that I made. I can review. And this doesn't have any advice, but if it had additional commentary or additional feedback, it would be there. And the student can continue. And they can continue watching your video. And just for sake of time, it looks like this one only has one question in it. But at this point, because the Sketch took that quiz, Sketch should see under grades that they now have 5 points for Panopto practice in the gradebook. And so it's immediate feedback, encouraging the behaviors that you want to emphasize to the students of, you got to watch the lectures, you got to pay attention, take some notes, and boom, it's in your gradebook. So they're getting that kind of immediate justification or redirection if they're answering those quiz questions wrong. And then of course, for the instructor, if you go ahead and go into your grade book, you're gonna see who completed those activities as well. I've got a bunch of just kind of crap in here because it's a practice course, but there it looks like there's the assignment. I can see Skitch did it. And so then if I wanted to, I can go in here and message students who haven't completed this yet. So I'm gonna email my students who haven't done that and say, come on guys. Come on, man. And send them that message. So kind of that's the cycle. Building the quizzes, first of course you gotta make that video, that lecture content, but then building those quizzes at maybe key times in your videos, and then connecting it to the gradebook. And often the part, again, I'll show you in a quick review, the part that folks forget when it comes to building this in the gradebook is this assignment setting here of external tool. That's kind of the tricky part under submission type. So you got to make sure to pick external tool, find that Panopto video, pull the right video, and then you've got it lined up there. And that will reduce the issues that you have. And then I don't know why they put this button here. This is like the fail button. If you pick this, it will not work. So don't click that box. Just go straight default. We know a few faculty that it took a while to figure that one out. So those are kind of the steps in review. I'll stop sharing, open it up to any questions that folks have. But really, it's a quick and easy way to build those questions in. Obviously, the question writing is not easy, but that process itself, it's been ironed out and it's working pretty well for folks. So any questions out there, any users who have noticed something that doesn't work, or you got any tips or advice?
So while people are thinking about if they have any questions or comments, Ben, I'm curious, have we tested this out on smartphones? Like if a student is looking at Canvas on their phone and they get to one of these videos, does this whole process work all right for them?
Yeah. The quiz is now, it didn't work previously. Because you had to open it up in the Panopto app. But now that it's embedded into the video and the video plays in Canvas, it's smartphone friendly.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Does anybody know if there's a way to duplicate quiz questions when you're building them in Panopto?
What do you mean?
Well, I feel like I'm spending a lot of time typing the same question over and over again and just, tweaking the sentence. And I was just wondering if there's a shortcut to save me some time.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good question. You almost need like a test bank for your Panopto videos. So,
well, or I spend a lot of time going back because I want it to be kind of consistent the way I ask the question. And I have to go back and see what I said. I just was wondering, it'd be so great if I could just duplicate.
Not the quizzes, no. I mean, obviously you can do it with the videos, but one system that I've used to be more efficient in other ways that may apply to this is I noticed when I was replying to students in discussion boards, I often used some of the same language for, a third of the students post as far as feedback received a lot of the same language. It wasn't exactly the same, but it was similar. And so I kept, kind of a log of that. Module, this class, module 1, discussion feedback. I would keep some of those snippets to reuse again. And I bet you could probably do that for quizzes if you're noticing that some of the language is similar.
Just have a Word document or a Google Doc that you just have your repository there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I used.
Yeah. And I think, Ben, I think you mentioned this when you were making those questions. You don't necessarily want these to be very difficult or complex questions, because this is in some ways kind of just a sneaky way of getting your students to watch the videos, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, if you have, if you're trying to create fairly complex or high level questions, those are probably better served in the Canvas quiz tool. Which is another reason why, like on these quizzes, you can let them retake the questions, retake the whole video multiple times until they get a perfect score. And I kind of don't think that's a bad thing in this case. Like the students might be feeling like they're getting away with something like, this is so easy. All I have to do is watch the whole lecture and then answer some easy questions. Piece of cake. But what you're really doing is tricking them into watching the 40-minute lecture, which usually the students who think they're getting away with something here are the ones most in need of that content. So I feel like it's a win-win situation here. The students don't feel like this is a difficult assignment, but they're really absorbing the information that you want them to absorb.
Yeah, it's a bit of a balance of creating barriers, right? But also creating learning opportunities in situations where they can do well. It's almost like group quizzes. They think they're cheating, right? Because they're using each other, but they're all working harder than maybe they've ever worked on a quiz before to come up with the right answers and to fill it out.
Right.
It's
or like letting them take a page of notes into the exam. Like, you guys, this is so easy. All I have to do is read the textbook, take notes, and then I can pass the quiz. What a hack.
Yeah, we had some smart teachers in the past, haven't we? Yeah, and I think this is another way of just kind of getting those little tricks in. Like you said, keep it a point. Encourage students to do it. It does take time to build these in. So Sam's question is right on. You know, it'd be kind of cool if you could have a template quiz or something that you could, you know, throw in there. But the old copy paste trick and have your own repository of typical quiz questions might work. There's obviously other ways to assess whether students are watching it, but I really like having the quiz questions just periodic throughout. One situation we did have was, or you know, one faculty who was an early adopter of this, she noticed that she would just put the quiz question, one question at the end, and students would just skip to that question, answer it, and say, hey, I watched the video. You know, and so she found like, okay, well, maybe I need to put a few more in there throughout to encourage it. She was hoping it would maybe be a panacea to all students avoiding instructional content, but you still got to kind of make it a little more challenging for them, I guess.
Ben, do you have like a rough rule of thumb for how many questions is ideal and how often you should intersperse them, or is this just kind of instinct?
I'd probably go with instinct. You know where students get hung up on, and so I mean that's where I'd build the quizzes in, just because you know there's certain areas that there's always questions or there's always confusion. So I'd go with that.
Yeah.
What about Sam? What about you? Have you found any specific way of building them in at specific points?
Not really. Yeah, Janelle and I are working on a big project for grammar and mechanics, and we're going to put them in all of our writing classes. So we're really exploring the quiz options in Panopto right now. And some of them, you know, are just 5 questions and some are a little bit more. But
well, please share with us how this goes and what your results are after you start using them. I would love to hear the case study.
okay.
I was wondering if you could maybe use the statistics if you've had these videos in the past and you see, well, you know, this video only 60% of the video has been delivered to most of the students. Would you maybe put the quiz at the 55% mark and then maybe one farther down to make them go farther? Does that make sense? I mean, you know that they're only watching about half of it. So put one at the halfway point and then the 75% point to force them to go farther.
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty intuitive idea for sure.
Something like that.
Or, you know, if it's a situation where quarter after quarter, you have students asking the same question that was answered in the lecture, that's where you put the question.
Yes.
And that's the question you ask them, is the one that they keep asking. So, because in theory, if you answer that question in the lecture, they should be able to answer the question.
I had a technical question. I've only done one of these with the quizzes, but I've done videos for years. And I had to click on that button to open in a new window for the students to be able to get the quiz. If they didn't do that, it wasn't showing the quiz. And that was what I had to go the other way. I just went and looked at it, and that's what I have selected.
Really?
But, yeah.
I
It
can't
was only
remember
the
what.
people that went through the Panopto link into the video and saw the quiz. But if they went from my assignment link into through the external tool, and it was on the same page as the assignment with the video, they weren't seeing the quiz.
Interesting. I can't remember the specific hang up that was happening to this instructor, but
Yeah, it just wasn't showing the quiz. I had once I put it out there, I had 4 or 5 students right away say, I watched it, I didn't see any quiz. And so it was weird. I had to go through it with the student view, and that's what I verified. So
when were you playing around with this?
it was maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess Dave's advice of, hey, figure it out. Don't listen to me.
I don't know.
Well, or come talk to us if you hit that kind of wall, and we can, because we can see things that instructors can't necessarily see. The student view is not always perfect. So sometimes we have to try some other things to test it out. Yeah, I mean, without seeing it, it's kind of hard to say. I almost wonder if maybe it was still trying to pull the version of the video that didn't have the quiz embedded in it. I don't know. It's hard to say what the deal was. But always come talk to us if you have a problem like that.
Yeah,
or to Jerry the Wizard.
The Wizard Jerry. Yeah, and one last thing, Sam, before we wrap this up. eLearning has gotten some pilot access to a formative assessment tool called H5P. And it allows you to author kind of interactive learning activities and quizzes and formative assessments in Canvas. It's pretty slick in the way that it presents itself in Canvas. And so if you check it out and it seems like something that you might be interested in, let me know and I can get you access to it and we can play around with it. I'm looking for a couple guinea pigs who want to see how it works with Canvas and make sure it's, good enough tool and easy enough and efficient for faculty workload.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that too. I wouldn't mind beta testing that for you.
Cool, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd appreciate it. I have a few folks interested, but they're out of time. They don't have time to play around with it. So.
Yeah.
And Ben did a Tech Talks on H5P like a month ago. So if you go on our YouTube channel and you look through the archives, you can watch that. And there were some good demonstrations in there just to show some of the things it can do.
Okay.
Thanks for the plug. And for the next plug, I think the next topic, I'm like 90% sure that's what we're doing, but I think I'm going to be giving a talk on video feedback and screenshotting tools. One of my favorite tools, Jing, has gone away with the death of Adobe Flash. So I had a tier for Jing. So it's time to move on. And so we're going to showcase some of those tools for faculty. I think they're pretty handy. Video feedback for students and screenshot tools and ways to be more efficient in the classroom. Is that right, Caleb?
It is now.
Okay, perfect. Sorry for bumping yours off the schedule.
No, that's good. It is definitely now going to be the first February Tech Talks. So
yeah, we'll wrap up today's call because I know I'm about 15 minutes over time, and I don't want to get Vanessa upset with me for being too late. Feel free to stay on the call if you got any specific questions. But thanks everybody for joining.
Yeah. But yeah, if there's something else that's on anybody's mind, lay it on us.
Thanks, you guys. I really like these tech talks.
Glad
Great.
to hear it. Thank you for
Glad
the
I found
good
'em.
feedback.
Hi,
Where,
Sam.
do you have a URL to your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I can. Give me just a second
Okay.
and I can plug it into the chat,
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think. Keep them talking while I do that then.
Yeah, I like your idea about the using the analytics to find kind of the stress points, the pinch points of the
Yeah.
videos.
Yeah. And I like your idea of just what questions they ask all the time.
Yeah,
They do end up being the same questions. So
right. You know, it's like, and you know those questions are often coming in advance.
Yes.
You know, you teach a class for a few years, you
Yep.
know they're going to ask these specific questions over and over again.
Yep.
Okay, I just pasted a direct link to our YouTube channel in the chat,
Beautiful.
which anybody watching our broadcast can't see, but they're already watching the broadcast, so they already know.
Right. They know where it is. I love
There's
it.
probably Panopto stuff in there too. So if they need to review any of the stuff I talked today, I'm sure there's some content in there about quiz questions that we've made.
Yes, definitely. Well, unless there's anything else we want to chat about, we can probably call it a session and I will end the broadcast.
Yeah. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, and Dave, if it's okay with you, I'm going to be in touch about the gamification thing. That'll be towards the end of February. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
that'd be good for me.
that'd be great. Love it.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right. Well, talk to you guys later.
All right, we'll see you.
Have a good one.
Bye, Caleb. Bye, Dave.